Well, Sunday night, that's sometime in August, isn't it? Like August 2. I want to talk to you about disasters, being ready tonight, because I would dare say that of all the people in our church, there's probably only a handful that are ready if a hurricane were to strike, say, like tomorrow, like they're calling for. So what I want to do is talk to you about some things that you need. The first thing you need is a bag. And in that bag, you need, it's called a bug out bag. So you need stuff in case you have to shelter in place or take off. It's too late once your roof blows off to go try to find everything, right? So I want to talk to you about some important things that you need handy in a bag together so that you can survive no matter what may come. Now I've got some pages that I've written out. I've been doing this since 1980, and let me tell you, I am absolutely amazed at how little preparation most people do in times of disaster. And here's what we say. Well, I've got my phone, I've got the TV, I've got community water, I don't have anything to worry about. I went to Walmart, I got bread and milk. And then the disaster comes and they're not ready. Yes, water is essential. Shelter is essential. Food is essential. You need shelter. This is shelter in a bag right here. It's a plastic drop cloth bag. 7 mil bag. Wow. It will keep you alive. This water is important because you see a lot of disasters, especially hurricane season. It is what? Hot. As soon as the storm's over with, it's dry and humidity 100,000%. So you need to be able to have water. One of our church members asked me in the meeting, why would I want to even have any bottled water? Because we're on city water, community water. Let me tell you, doing disaster across this country and around this world, never count on the government, never count on the water supply. It can get contaminated. You know, for the last, well, since 1994, I've been certified in freshwater treatment, freshwater operation, and wastewater. And I can tell you that during storms, all three of these things are in trouble. Waste treatment plants overflow with water. That runs down the stream. Your water plants overflow. Water's contaminated. Many plants shut down because they can't run when they're underwater. And so they have to stop water. Now, if they were running when the water was contaminated, all the lines are contaminated. So you need some ways to purify water. And so I just happened to have brought a few, and I want to share them with you quickly tonight so that you can be ready. The first one is the kind of filter called a SteriPen, and the SteriPen filters water with ultraviolet light. Many water treatment plants use ultraviolet light. Now this is ultraviolet light right here, but this is only for one bottle. And it takes a minute or two with one bottle, runs on AA batteries. Works real good, but you know what? If you don't have it, it don't work. Now for individuals, Sawyer makes this little filter. You can stick this down in the creek in the toilet water, and you can take this end off and use it like a straw, and that water's going to be good. Now if the water's dingy and dirty, it's going to stop up quicker. Sawyer makes this. Walmart sells it. Now they also, you can get this, it's called a life straw. By the way, this and this, basically for one person. Now, if you really like the person or if it's family, you can all use the same straw. But if it's a stranger, we don't share straws. These are about $19. Same with these. You can get some with bags in them and so forth. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you just stick this down in the water source and you just drink away just like it was a milkshake from McDonald's. And they're great. You'll not fill one up. I've had this one here for a long time. I use it when I go to Colorado, use it overseas a lot because you never trust the water. Available simply. Now there's some other things you can do right here. Water purification tablets. You read the directions. It's micropure. This is Katadyn right here. And these purify amounts of water. You can get them where it will purify a 32 ounce bottle, or you can get it where they'll do a gallon or 2 gallons. They make different sizes, but you have to read the directions. Most of them tell you when you put it in the water and you let it sit, you got to shake it up and let some get around the rim of the container because it may be contaminated as well. Water purification tablets. Yeah, they sell these at different places, sporting goods stores, Walmart, so forth. And I always like to carry a supply of them so that you have the ability to treat water when you need it. Some are tablets, some are not. Now, they make iodine that you can put in it and as a way of purifying water, but I don't like that because it normally has a taste. Sawyer makes this handy little straw that goes on theirs. So you could actually lay down in the edge of your pond, which I don't recommend agricultural ponds, because you got a lot of heavy metals coming out of the pastures, not from the cows, from your fertilizers and so forth. But it is good for flushing toilets. Get you a 5-gallon bucket, take it in your house, pour it in the back of the toilet, flush it. Man, you can't beat that. But don't drink it unless you have the ability to filter out heavy metals. And most of you are not going to have that. You're not going to always have it. You can go and buy bottled water. I recommend that every one of us be able to survive for at least 7 days without any outside help. 7 days of water, 7 days of food, and make sure you have shelter for everybody in your house that you could survive and even thrive for a whole week. All right? Now, I really would want you to be a lot longer than that, but I always just say 7 days. You need a good first aid kit in that bag because first aid is needed during disaster times. You need things like what? Band-aids, ointments. Little cuts can be a big problem. You need your valuables in something where they're not going to get wet. Now, some of you think, what are my valuables? My telephone, my iPad, and so forth. Well, let me tell you, when the power goes out, the batteries start to go out too. So, of course, you have your vehicle and you can charge your phone in your vehicle. And they make solar chargers where you can just take a cord and go from your solar to your phone, set this out in the sun. It'll keep your phone charged. It won't go to 100%, but you can charge 40 to 60, 70% every day of the year. All right. So a charger for your phone. Now, you may ask me, well, why do I need to do that? Because I may not have cell service. I like to say to people, you're not going to have cell service. You're not going to have any kind of service. You're going to be on your own, and whatever you prepared for, that's what you're going to get. So if you didn't prepare, you're going to be miserable. Your toiletries, your shampoos, your soap. Oh my, everybody needs a good little ditty bag to go with them. Your medicines. We used to say in disaster all the time that everybody needed a 90-day supply of their meds. I remember going overseas one time. I took a man who had high blood pressure. He only took exactly enough pills for 1 day, one dose he took a day for every day he was going to be gone. But when we were in Honduras, because of the change in climate, much hotter, doing more strenuous work, the food was different, his blood pressure shot up so high that the nurses wouldn't let him work. So you always need extra. So you need your meds, and you need a good supply, and you need to talk to your family doctor, and you need to get an extra supply of medicines, and you need to have them on hand. Now, I'll tell you, for me, one of the most essential things that you need on hand, coffee. Coffee. This is a little coffee single. It works in pinch. You see, let me just give you a scenario. Let's say the storm comes in Monday and knocks your power out for a week. And you go to your phone, it doesn't work. You try your cell phone, it doesn't work. You go out to get in your car to leave, but trees have blown down and you can't get your car out. And if you don't have a chainsaw and you haven't been used to running a chainsaw, you don't have any fuel for the saw that you have, you're stuck right there. But that might not be the worst of your problems. Your power's out, so everything in your refrigerator is on a time bomb. Everything in your freezer slowly ticking away to ruination. So you need a generator. And not many of us have generators for our entire house. And I'm not going to tell you who does, because I know his family don't want you all over there during a disaster. But you need a generator to run your essential things. I believe I read years ago that if you run a generator for 2 hours and keep your freezer and your refrigerator on it for 2 hours a day, you'll be fine. As long as you don't open and close the door all day. If you got kids, don't let them open your refrigerator door at all when the power's out. If you need to get in the refrigerator, it's got to be quick. You got to get what you need out. Air conditioning is your least concern during this time. If you're going to have a generator, you got to have fuel. There are propane generators and there are gasoline generators and diesel generators, and you got to know which it is. But let's say you don't have any of that, and you have a grill with propane, and there's no electricity, no way for you to get your refrigerator or your freezer going. Then you start with your refrigerator and you cook everything in that refrigerator you can before it spoils. It'll last longer once it's cooked. Now, there's some essential things that we need, some essential things that we don't think we can do without. But the essential things we said a while ago: water, food, and shelter. Don't count on somebody coming in and doing all this stuff for you, okay? Now, if you really want to know what's going on, you need to get an emergency radio. They make them that wind up. They make them that run on batteries. You can get the emergency channels to find out what's going on. Some of you may have a swimming pool or a creek or a pond. You can get water for the comfort station out of any of those three, and you can get your drinking water out of your swimming pool, whether you use chlorine or salt. But you do need a filter. This filter is a family size filter. It's MSR, Mountain Safety Rescue. And this filter is a pump filter. You want to keep your kids busy? Let them pump some water. You take this bad boy out of the case. It's got a cleaner. You take the hose out. You drop that hose in the necessary end to do the pumping. You can screw on a water bottle to the bottom of this, and you start pumping. It takes a while to pump a gallon. It takes a while to pump 5 gallons. You'll be so tired. Comes with a little cleaner. This red thing is a cleaner, so you can clean the filter. Filter will come out, and you scrape it off. If the water's real murky, it's going to get where it's hard to pump. The good thing about the MSR, it will purify your water. And when it won't pump anymore, that means it's done what it's going to do, and you have to change the filter. Now, you take it apart and scrape it off, and then you put it back in. And what happens is all the pores in it, when they fill up with contaminants, then it's done. You put a new filter in. But that's rare in a disaster time. And, of course, you need your necessary paper. And in addition to that, you have to have a little piece of cleaning for cleaning your ceramic filter in this contraption right here. So you need some staple foods. Don't have to refrigerate it. Got them in your cabinet. Some of you probably got a lot of staple foods, but you need them that you don't have to cook unless you have plenty of propane and you have an outside grill. So if you look in your cabinet right now, open the door, and in your cabinet are all these ingredients of things you have to cook, but you don't have a means to cook those things, they're not doing you any good. So what you have to have is the means to cook. Now, of course, if there's firewood, you can start a fire, but you got to have some stuff to start a fire. Matches. These are special matches here. These are waterproof matches in case times get really bad. If they're really bad, you could use flint and steel to start your fire. And then I have all these little tablets somewhere around here on this desk, or some of them that are the military uses where they can start fires real quickly. So you need that. So in order to do all that, to build a fire, if you don't have it, you got to have tools. A knife, a hatchet, an axe. We mentioned a chainsaw earlier, but if you don't have fuel, your arms will get awfully tired trying to work that chainsaw. So you got to have tools to do the work. Now this tool right here is a multi-tool, not my favorite. I always carry a pouch of tools. It needs to be in your bug out bag, by the way. You need some tools in there because you never know when you might need them. And you're going to need some cash, because if you have to leave and go to a shelter, you always need some cash. Credit cards aren't going to do any good. I pulled in McDonald's during disaster time in Georgetown. I carried a disaster trailer down there, and I wanted a McDonald's burger. There wasn't anything else in town open, and the manager was standing out in the parking lot, and he said, unless you have exact change, we can't wait on you, because all of our cash registers work off electricity, and we don't have any electricity. We can cook on the grills, and we're going to cook until the food's not good anymore. And so I happen to carry in my car all the time $20, $30 in change. You should always have 20 or 31 stuffed in your car somewhere. You should always have $20 to $30 in change hidden in your car, in your console somewhere, so that you can make purchases on what you need. And while you're at it, in that great bug out bag, you're going to get some sore muscles because you're not used to doing some stuff. So you need some sore muscle rub. You're probably going to wear some blisters, so you need some moleskin. And you need a towel. Now this is a towel. You open this bad boy up, it's a good towel. But until you need it, it's in a nice little container. I always like to have with me a compass, so I know which way's up. And then it's going to get dark. Have you thought about that? Before it's over with, you need a flashlight. Now they make them in all sizes. I've got this one my wife gave me. It does a light like that, and it does a fluorescent light. You can hang it while you're working, hang it in your tent, hang it in your bedroom. But you know what? Flashlights, these lights, and my favorite, the headlights, they all have one thing in common. They need batteries. C cells, D cells, AA's, AAA's, 9-volt batteries, whatever you're using, they're useless if you don't have the means to power them. Now, power goes out, wind's blowing 75 miles an hour, it's dark. Are you going to go look for that flashlight? You need to know where it is. That's where your bag comes in handy. You got everything in the bag. Plus, you got some flashlights stored around. I think you should do that. In fact, let me give you some suggestions right now. I hope you're watching this before Sunday night, because Sunday night may be starting to get short on the bread and milk, at the grocery store. Think about your neighbor. You don't need just one flashlight. You need several. Wouldn't hurt to have one in every room. One out in your barn, one in your cars, one in your truck. You see, your neighbor might need some help. Could be a widow lady, could be a widower. You need to talk to them now to see what they have. You might want to invite them over to be with you during this time, because if they're alone, they might be scared. You got to think about your animals, have plenty of food and water for them. You got to remember, when the water's high, you should never cross it. You should never go out sightseeing in the middle of a storm. I've had people do that when we were trying to clear a road. You should always have plenty of lighters for the propane. Don't count on those little push button things to work. Just like you don't count on your cell towers. And if all the power's out, what do? Watch TV in the dark? That's a joke, by the way, because you just be looking at a black screen. You won't be able to get on your computer. You won't have any internet capability if all the power's out. So if you got children, you need some good games and some good books you can read to them, activities you can do. Staying calm in front of them is important. Important papers, you need those in that bag. Important phone numbers. You see, your cell phone may not work, but if you got all your numbers in that bug out bag, if you do have to go to a shelter, you got it all with you. You can't rush around in the middle of a disaster and try to get all that stuff together. You live in a mobile home, leave. Go to a shelter, go stay with somebody, they'll blow away. I've seen them in the top of trees. I've seen them where the whole mobile home blew away except for the bathtub, and there'd be a mom and a child in the bathtub. I saw one day with the frame was wrapped around a pine tree, and the whole thing was 30, 40 feet off the ground, and the only thing left was the frame. You got to remember, it's not tied down well enough to survive the storms. Remember your deacon in your deacon family ministry. If you have some issues or need to talk to him, call him. You can always call me too. But let me tell you that the number one killer in every storm, procrastination. Not being ready. Not being ready. I think we should all learn to thrive while we're surviving. You don't waste your fuel. You should live with this motto during hurricane season and bad winter time when there's always a chance of an ice storm. A half a tank of gas is empty. A half a tank of gas in your car is empty. Now, I wish I had a propane bottle to show you. You need to have it filled up. In fact, you need 4 or 5 around. You need your grill, you need your generator. Cooling towels are wonderful. If you don't know what they are, everybody's selling them now. It's just a little towel about 2 feet by 16 inches or so. And you wet that, saturate it with water, and it'll keep you cool, because I have found the hottest times of the year are the days following hurricanes. So, you need some light reading material. You need some devotional material. You don't have any power. You don't have a generator. You're stuck at home and you're bored. Use it wisely. Catch up on your reading as we're reading through in the message, reading through the Bible. Can't use that telephone. You see, some people, it's just a mess when you can't get in touch with anybody. Don't succumb to that. Now, the deacons know that after a hurricane or any major storm, that they are to contact and try to be in touch with all of the people on their deacon list. No phone service, they have to drive. Once it's safe to be out on the road, and they don't have to cross high water, just to check on you. But don't wait. Don't let it be said of us that something major happened and we weren't prepared. Now, I've always felt one good-sized jar of peanut butter will get you through any major catastrophe. I've been known to carry 2 or 3 bottles of peanut butter with me on overseas trips, knowing that I could eat peanut butter and survive for a month, as long as I could get some water. And I'd always have an assortment of filters. Don't leave home without an MSR filter, and a straw filter, and a styrofoam filter. Nothing lives in ultraviolet light. Kills it all. Now, having said all that, if you wait till Tuesday, you've waited too late. You need to be ready. And by the way, we're still social distancing. And so if you're saying, oh, I don't have to worry, I'm going to go to a shelter, they'll close quickly. And there won't be as many shelters as there are people needing it. Plan ahead. Be ready. Now, I know that we trust Christ with our lives. The story is told of a man in a hurricane. He's in his house. A guy comes by in a big truck and says, sir, you need to go to a shelter. He said, oh, no, God's going to take care of me. So the man in the truck left. And a while later, the water comes up, and a man comes along in a boat to his front door and says, sir, you need to go with me. He said, oh, no, God's going to take care of me. The rains kept coming. The waters kept getting higher. Finally, he's up on the roof of his house. And a helicopter comes. And the guy in the helicopter says, grab this rope. I'm going to pull you up. He says, oh, no, God's going to take care of me. And the water came on up over the roof of the house, and he drowned. And he's standing before St. Peter, and he said, I don't get it. I knew God was going to take care of me. And Peter said, he tried 3 times. He sent a guy in a truck. He sent a guy in a boat. And he sent a guy in a helicopter. And you didn't listen to any of them. You see, you and I need to be ready. God expects us as believers to be prepared for the storms of life. That's the whole implication of the story of the man who built his house on the rock, not on the sand. Not being prepared in a time of a storm is like the man who built his house on the sand. The rains came. What happened? The house sank. So be ready. God bless y'all. Be prepared. Now, you're not going to be able to get all this stuff right now. I bet if you were to go to Walmart at this moment, you wouldn't be able to find everything you need. So you know what you might have to do? Get you a case of Beanie Weenies, Wiener sausages, something you don't have to cook, and then you start making a list. And check it twice, so you'll be ready next time. Don't forget the essentials. By the way, if you got plenty of jugs, you can fill up some jugs with water. But let me tell you something. Water in your containers, it's not going to last a long, long time indefinitely because your containers have a little contamination in them, and that water will go bad after a while. That's why you need a filter. You get a case or two of bottled water to get you started, but you better learn how to take care of yourself because you know what? You can't trust anybody else to take care of you when nobody can get to you. God bless you. Be safe, be smart, and above all, walk in faith.